Joe Hopkins here, and today I've decided to talk about some. I've seen other people talk about it, and that's good, cheap stuff for your guitar, your studio, stuff that you can use that's cheap, that will improve your life, or stuff you might need even just to get started. So I've seen other people do lists like this, and thought I'd throw one out there. Because, I got my own take on it. I got my own spin on it. And you guys might not have seen those other lists. And this is all stuff, it's not brand specific, right? And it's all stuff that's really, really quite affordable, that you can afford. And let's start, if you're starting out recording, there's something you need right off the bat. And that is, I got one right back here. It's an interface, right? Most of us already have computers. If you're watching YouTube, chances are you're watching it on your computer, on your laptop, desktop, Mac, PC, whatever it is. But you need an interface if you're going to record. And you want to get one that'll accept the XLR or instrument cables, right? Ideally, you want to start out with, like one of the ones with 2 inputs. Mostly because if you play guitar and sing, at some point you're going to want to set up 2 microphones, for guitar and vocals. You can do it with one. I've done plenty with one, and if you're doing stuff by yourself and recording, you can do 1 instrument at a time, but it is nice to have 2. And I mean, Behringer makes 2 input interfaces for I think some of them are under $100, but you can get pretty good ones under $200. You can get a lot of really decent ones for under $150. And honestly, you don't need a lot to get started, right? You need a computer, got one here. You need a DAW. You need an interface. You need a microphone. And it'd be useful to have some headphones. You kind of need headphones. And none of that stuff is a lot of money. Interfaces are cheap enough. The second thing on that list is a microphone. Now, I have a PreSonus M7 here. I've been using it for years. It came with the package. Like if you're getting into recording, a lot of places, including PreSonus, sell packages that come with all the aforementioned stuff. So I have an M7, but if you're just getting started, you don't have to buy that. There are some pretty decent microphones out there. If you're getting started in recording, you're probably going to want a condenser mic. That's what this one is. Lewitt makes their 240 for like $150, and it's pretty good, especially getting started. If you want to go cheaper than that, Behringer makes a pretty good condenser mic for under $100, right? And it is pretty good. It's not like, top studio quality, but it's enough to get you started. It's enough to do what you need it to do. For most, bedroom recording applications. Pretty good stuff, right? You're going to need a cable to plug in your microphone. You're going to need an instrument cable. If you buy a new guitar, a lot of times they come with an instrument cable. It's not the best, but it'll do. It'll serve just fine. I use them, and they're not bad. They work fine. A lot of people, put down the cheap cables, but I'm not taking it on the road. I'm not beating it up a lot, so it does all right. And it's good to get a decent microphone cable, and they're not a ton of money. You can find them on Amazon. They're not terribly expensive. You need a stand, a microphone stand, like what this is on. Best thing to do is get a boom stand, right? Amazon Basics makes them, and I know a lot of people are going to say, well, that's not a very good stand. It's good enough, especially if you're just getting started. You're not doing this professionally. It's for fun. It'll do well enough, and they're pretty cheap. You can get them, I think, for under 20 or $25, something like that. So it's not a lot of money, right? And that's something you need. At some point, you might want a good stand, and they cost more. So this is all stuff that's pretty reasonably priced, pretty affordable. If you look around on there, you can find some pretty good MIDI controllers if you're getting into recording, like keyboards, little keyboards. And you don't need a full, like I got an 88 key keyboard here underneath this. you don't need anything that big. You can start out with something, you need an octave, 1 or 2 octaves, and that's about it. And you can find those pretty good ones for under $200. Some of them less than that, as long as it works MIDI. Because if you're recording, you know, MIDI's a good thing to have, and you can then get virtual instruments and have any sound you want. Good stuff, right? This is all good stuff for recording. Another good thing to have, and this is good to have whether you're doing a studio or just playing guitar or whatever, is a music stand. I have one here. This is one that I got from my brother. It came from the high school we used to go to, where he ended up teaching. And I guess he stole it, swiped it, was given to him. I'm not sure. He gave it to me. It's one of those really, really nice stands. I've used it for years. But you want a stand, and a lot of times you can get used ones pretty cheap, like this one here. You can get those cheap fold-up ones, but they don't really work as well. They're a little flimsy, but you can make them work. But it is good to have a stand, and in general, they're not a ton of money. A good one like this might run you $50, you know, or even a little bit more. Like I said, this one's old. Sometimes you can get them used pretty cheap. Now, another thing that's good to have as a guitarist or a musician in general, along with your stand, I have these, right? These, let me turn them on. Yeah. This one has 2 little heads on it. It's a light. It's a book light. They sell them as book lights, right? It clips, has a clip, clips onto your stand. I can't tell you how many times this has come in handy playing live. Because, you know, I can't afford a teleprompter, and I'm not one of those people that can remember all of the chords and lyrics and the whole song. So along comes my stand. I have it there to remind me of, you know, if I get lost. And I have my little light. This thing comes in handy, especially as I get older. My eyes get a little bit weaker. I can see what I'm doing. These are really, really useful. And they have a lot of uses other than that, too, honestly. It's a nice little thing to have. And they're not a lot of money, right? That one has a battery. It recharges. That's the way a lot of them are now. Tell you something else. If you're a guitarist, get a Capo, right? There are a lot of different styles. This is like that the kind that just clips on the guitar. They have, I have one where it isn't that trigger type. It's a stronger Capo. It works better, but you actually have to, you know, it's got like a hinge on it. It takes a minute to move it. This one I can just slide up and down. When I'm not using it, I can just stick it on the head of my guitar or right here on my music stand. And, you know, that sounds like something that should be obvious, but a lot of people, they don't think to get one. And it's something good to have, because you can change keys easily, and it's really fun to write songs with the Capo, because a lot of times you have certain chord voicings that you can't bar chord it, and it sounds really good up on a higher fret, right? Something that you definitely need if you're playing guitar or any stringed instrument. One of these, this is one of those clip-on tuners, right? Clips on the headstock. Oh, clips on the headstock, and it tells you if you're in tune. And they are really cheap. This one I got for free. It came with a ukulele, right? The ukulele was given to me for free, but I think the ukulele that was given to me is only like a $20 instrument. It cost $20, and it came with the tuner. A lot of guitars come with tuners. So even if you buy a really good one, at the most, you're looking at 15 or 16 bucks. They're not a lot of money, and it's something that's good to have. Even if you have a tuner, like I have my Korg tuner, this one here. It's got a little microphone, and if you're doing electric instruments, it has a plug in the side, a little 1/2-inch jack, and this is a really high quality tuner. It's honestly really good. You can recalibrate it, you can adjust it differently if you want to do something, you know, different, if you want everything just a little bit sharp or a little bit flat. Really excellent tuner, but it's a little bit of a pain in the butt when you're in an even remotely noisy environment, because it picks up, it's got a microphone, picks up all kinds of other sounds and makes it hard to tune. Headstock tuners are really simple, really easy, and they work really well even in a loud environment, and they'll even work on your electric guitar when it's unplugged, you know, because they work on the vibrations from the strings. So that's another thing that's really good to have. You know, I mentioned microphones, and I should mention, I have yet to buy an SM58, a Shure microphone. Their dynamic mics are only around $100, and they're really, really good. I need to get an SM57 and an SM58. The 58 is the most versatile. The 57 is like really for instruments and miking cabs, and you can use it for other things. You can use it for vocals and all, but the 58 is the one you want. It's the one for vocals, and you can mic instruments with it too, and it's like an industry standard. Everybody uses it. When my wife and I were playing live, I got a bunch of dynamic microphones that were SM58 knockoffs, really. And the knockoffs aren't as good. They aren't as good, but they came with the PA, right? The PA came with 4 microphones, and so I just used those. But I really need to buy a 58. I haven't gotten around to it, but it's something I would definitely recommend, because it is only about $100, and it's been used by professionals, you know, all through the decades. It's long-standing quality, good stuff. I mean, a lot of your favorite songs, the vocals were done on 58s. Not all of them, right? Usually they use condenser mics, but I've heard a lot of people say they've used 58s on their vocals. And a Shure SM58 is a cheap, good, solid quality addition to any studio, right? Here's something that a lot of people don't think about too. And that is a set of picks. This is like, it comes in a case, and it's all different sizes and thicknesses. And the reason why that can be a good thing to get, and it's not expensive, but the reason why it can be a good thing to get is because as you learn, as you grow, sometimes you want to try different things, and with a different size pick, you play differently, right? I've got a whole stack of picks here. I've got my favorites are these mediums. What's this? 0.7 millimeter Diodarios. I use these and the Dunlop mediums a lot for a lot of different things. But I have this here 0.96 millimeter I like to use for bass, you know, that kind of stuff. I bought these. I forget who makes them. They're the same kind the Edge uses, which not really why I bought them. They're different, right? And these have like that little non-slip grip on them, and they're pretty cool. Those were a little pricey. And I have some really, really thin ones. And let me see. Well, these aren't super thin. These are 0.6. But they're a lot thinner, and I like using those for electric guitar and lead. But the thing is, you need to find out what you like and what works well in different applications for you. And to do that, best thing to do is buy a pick set with all the different sizes. It doesn't matter which brand. Once you find like a thickness you like, you can try other brands and stuff like that. But it's good to try different picks. It's cheap, it's easy, you know, why not? And another rather inexpensive guitar item I bought this little thing on Amazon. It wasn't a bunch of money, and it came with 3 slides. I don't know if you can see that in the camera there. It came with brass, stainless steel, and glass. And even if you don't play slide, it can be kind of cool to check out. It also came with a set of finger picks, right? I don't know if you can see this. It came with a set of finger picks and a bunch of other little picks. Came in this little case, and you know, I did a review on slides, different slides, and I showed this off. This is a pretty good little thing to own, and if you look on Amazon, they got a lot of different places sell these, right? They have a bunch of different sets. You can find the one you like. And the reason why I recommend it, let me put that back there. The reason why I recommend that is because for only a little bit of money, it gives you the option to try some things out, you know? Try out slide, try out the finger picks, see how they work for you, and just experiment with stuff. And it's like with the picks, it's a cheap way to experiment. And I'll be honest with you, you'd be surprised how trying something a little bit different can point you in a different direction, can help you grow artistically. And it seems like something that simple, like a pick or getting a finger picks or a slide or just something a little bit different. It seems surprising to some people how much it can change the way you play, the way you look at the instrument, but it can. Any little thing can point you in a new direction. And once you're pointed in that direction, you start to discover more. You know what I mean? Tell you what, there are a lot of inexpensive things you can buy. I'll tell you one of the things that I love, especially since I own a lot of guitars, and that's guitar hangers. You can see I got this one hanging here. I got one hanging up there. Those are hanging on string swings, which are, I don't know, 15, 16 bucks a piece on Amazon, which is fairly reasonable if you only have a couple of instruments. I did a video on my, I'll put it up here, my guitar hanger set that I got. My cousin got me 20 guitar hangers. It's 2 sets of 10. 35 bucks for 10 hangers. She got me 2 sets, and they came with slat wall attachments, and I got those. I got the slat wall rails and put them up all around my room here. So, and in some of my other videos, I'm sure you've seen all the guitars hanging behind me. Those are cost under $200. I think it was around 170, 180 bucks for the whole thing, and I can hang 20 instruments. And there's room on the slat wall. If I wanted to buy another 10 hangers, I could probably fit, I don't know, another 10 up there. I don't know if I'd want to put that much more weight on it, but that's a really good thing. Instrument hangers are great, especially because it was so hard before going through cases and gig bags and looking for the instrument I want to use to record or to play with, and now they're all just here where I can see them. But if you only have a couple instruments, those work well, and those instrument stands, the ones that set on the floor, I have a couple of those too, and hold your instruments. Those are really nice too. Especially like with the wall hangers, you put them on the wall. With the stands, you can put them wherever. You can move them, and it's not a big deal. They're really nice to have too, because then your stuff is right there where you can find it. Really good stuff, I even have an instrument stand. It's folds up like an umbrella, and when you unfold it, it's got 3 holders. It's not the sturdiest thing in the world, but I used to use it for gigs so that I could have 3 instruments right there next to me. My wife and I playing folk music, it was kind of necessary. I'd have my guitar, my banjo, and my mandolin all right there. But, whatever it is you need is what you should get. And everybody has different needs, right? So that's just a couple of the things that I personally find to be very useful in the studio and very useful for playing instruments in general, for playing with my guitars. And they're all cheap stuff. None of it's a lot of money, right? You can afford that. I hope anyway. If you can't, then I don't know, man. Save your pennies, right? It's all pretty cheap stuff. I'll show you something else too. I bought this, and I did a review on this too. This is one of those harmonica holders, right? You put it over your head, and it holds your harmonica right here, so that you can play the harmonica and your guitar and sing, and that's not a lot of money. These are pretty cheap. I think this thing was like 12 bucks or something, right? Not a lot of money, and this I've had a lot of fun with. I mean, if you don't play the harmonica, then don't worry about it. Or you could learn the harmonica. Harmonicas aren't a lot of money. I got a bunch of harmonicas. I paid, I I don't know, less than $10 a piece for them. And I know they got those sets out there that are real expensive, and they come with every key. You don't need every key, right? Find the key you play the most in, especially when you're playing folky stuff. For me, it was G. So I bought a G harmonica, and then later on I bought a C. And as I went, I just bought them one at a time. I don't need all that many keys. C, G, D, A, and E was pretty much all I needed. And yeah, you're good. That's all you need. But because as a guitarist, how often do you really play in flat keys? You know, I play in B flat sometimes, and a lot of people play in E flat because they'll detune their guitar a half step. But other than that, we don't really play flat keys that much, right? So that's a pretty good list of stuff that's really cheap that you can get for your home, for playing guitar, for playing in your studio. Most of that stuff, a big chunk of that stuff, is under $20 a piece. And on the expensive end, it's still under $200. Like I said, man, I've got $180 invested in my hangers, and I've got 20 instruments hanging up. So if you got a lot of instruments, you could spend under $10 a piece hanging them up. If you only have a few instruments, get the string swings, right? Or some other type of guitar hanger. They have them as cheap as $5 or $6, some of the hangers. So I like the string swings because they were on sale when when my wife bought 4 of them, when we only had a few instruments. So there you go. Get some of that stuff. Upgrade your studio, right? One other thing. You know what? I'm thinking of other things now. And I will throw in, get a chord and scale book. And not just if you play guitar. They have them for bass. They have them for mandolin. They have them for pretty much any instrument out there. A scale book, a chord book. And the reason why, even if you have a pretty decent chord book, if you can get one that has all the scales too, because it really will help you, right? And even if you know a lot of guitar, or think you do already, it's good to look through it because it gives you ideas. And I reference mine quite often because I'll be entirely honest with you, I'm not one of those guys that can remember all the scales and all the modes and, you know, where the 7th and the 9th is, or suspended chords. I can't remember all that stuff. I love those chords and I love a lot of the scales, but I need to refresh my memory when I'm recording. If I want to do something in a different mode or a different scale, sometimes I gotta look it up, right? I've got like 3 scales memorized, and the rest of them I know well enough that if I go over it once or twice, I'm good, right? But if you don't know a lot of that kind of stuff, like music theory stuff, it can definitely help you. And just playing around with the different stuff can give you ideas. It can lead to, you know, it can lead to a new song, man. You might start playing around with some of them chords and just get inspired. So anyway, I think that's it. I think that's all the stuff that we need. The only other thing I'd say is spend some money on a decent gig bag, especially if you take your guitar anywhere. Like, hard cases are great, but they're heavy as hell, and gig bags are good ones, even, are pretty cheap. So I love you guys. I'll see you in the next video, man. Check out some of that stuff, right? I'd put links to the products, but none of this is brand specific, man. You can just go on Amazon and look it up. A lot of stuff like the music, the mic stands and the instrument stands and stuff. Amazon Basics is one of the cheapest ones out there, and they have some of that stuff and it works pretty good. Some of the other stuff, look around, find what suits you. Right? The cheapest isn't always the best, but sometimes the cheapest is still pretty good, right? Sometimes the cheapest is the best. Every once in a while. All right. So, I love you guys. I'll see you in the next video. Peace out, baby. Bye-bye.